topic is television addiction. And I'm Benny.
I'm Harry.
I'm Peter.
Okay, so first of all, I'm going to talk about the addiction nowadays. So the first one is alcoholic. So you like to drink wine, beers, alcoholic, and workaholic. You like to work very hard. Shopaholic, you want to waste money on shopping. Webaholic. So this is the most common addiction nowadays. Webaholic. You can't live without internet. And the next one is mobile smartphone addiction. So of course, I think everyone now has smartphone addiction. You can't live without smartphone. You will feel anxiety if you don't have it. And drug addiction is a very important issue nowadays. And the next, game addiction. And I think many people like to play games, whatever you are playing on phone, video, or computer. And the last one is our most important topic, television addiction. And it's mostly for like baby or young people age maybe 6 to 10 years old. Their parents don't let them use smartphone. So the next part is, what is addiction? So the definition of addiction on dictionary is compulsive need for and use of a habit-forming substance characterized by tolerance and by well-defined physiological symptoms upon withdrawal. So this just means that addiction is like you devote yourself into something, and this devote is not you devote into some activity, but this is like you surrender to it, and then habitually or oppositely. So this means that you devoted and you surrender to that. So if you don't have it, you will feel anxious, and this means. So after we know what is addiction, then we are talking about why we are being addicted to something. And so addiction is a biopsychosocial disorder. So it's a combination of your genetics, your neurobiology, and how that interacts with psychological and social factors. So this content is just to talk about that. There are many aspects that will influence why you get addicted, but this also tells that addiction that is also can be treatable and can be preventable, because genetics and many aspects that will affect why you get addicted. So it's not only physical, but it's also a mental problem when you get addicted. So if a substance we take has ability to alter our body's chemistry, it can also change that what we are feeling, thinking, and how we behave, because many aspects, so not only physical, but mental, feeling, thinking, and many aspects that can affect why you get addicted to this one. So the next part, Henry is going to talk about why we are addicted to television.
Okay, let's move on to the TV addiction. So why we are addicted to TV? First of all, we should know that information on TV is less than some paper media like newspapers or magazines. So when you watch papers, you have to read all of the text and you will understand the meaning of the articles. But when we watch TV, it's just a video with voice, so you don't need to read all of the words, and you have to imagine by your sensory to know the contents. So you will devote more yourself to that, and that's why we are addicted to televisions. And the second point is the extension of daily life. As a first point, we watch TV and we will devote more ourselves to that, and it is a kind of extension of our life. In our imaginations, we will imagine ourselves as characters that appears on televisions, and we will get access to a virtual world that's created by our sensories. And so in the virtual world, we can do anything that is impossible to do in our real life. And you can imagine if you are bullied or you are unsatisfied with your life, and you will watch some violent programs and imagine yourself as a main character or a hero to fight for enemies. and it is a kind of alternative participation or a compensation of your life. And you may get some joys from that and be used to this kind of compensation of your life, and then you are addicted to TV. And the fourth point is the projections on people's eyes. Compared to the projector, compared to a movie, projecting the pictures on the screen, TV is like a projector projects images on audience eyes. So we are forced to receive this kind of stimulations, and our subconsciousness will be used to the stimulations, and then we will be addicted to TV. And the next part is how much time we spend on TV. According to Nielsen's research, people spend 2 to 3 hours every day on television, and since they were 3 years old. In America, children spend 21 to 23 every week to watch TV. And this group of children, when they grow to 70 years old, they will spend 7 to 10 years in their whole life on televisions. And all over the world, people from North America spend the most time on TV. It takes 4 hours and 10 minutes, and the list is Asian. It takes 2 hours and 20 minutes on average. And this chart is about top 10 countries that spend their time on televisions. The first place is United States, and the second place is Japan. The third place is Italy. And this chart is about age distributions. As you can see on the chart, people aged more than 65 years old spend the most time on television, and it's still growing here. And people teenagers over 20s spend the least time on televisions, and it decreases year by year. Here, oh, okay. And children below 11 years old tend to decrease, but it still spend a lot of time on televisions. Okay, and next is the influence of TV addiction. So being addicted to television will make your language ability stagnant, because you are dependent on TV, so you have no chance to communicate with other people. So your language ability will get worse, and TV addiction also causes you feel distractions and limit your sensory. Because when we watch TV, we catch the information passively, and we'll get used to that. So it's hard for us to pay attention on another things, and so we will feel distractions. And when we watch TV, we just use our ears and our eyes to catch information. So we have no chance to go out or to use other organs to feel. So our sensory is limited. And the third point is violence. According to research, there are more than 90 children's programs include violence, and 8 of 10 cartoons include violence, and each program got 7.6 violence plus on average. Every 3 minutes, violence appears in cartoons, and is 4 or 5 times than other programs. So how to prevent children from those violent materials is important thing.
So in the next part, I think nowadays the TV addiction is not the only common addictions. Also, mobile addiction is the most common modern disease in nowadays for many people. And the second one is it is difficult to quit if you once you get into this the mobile addictions, then you need to spend lots of time to cure it, and you also need to try many kinds of therapy. And the third feature is that, unlike the TV addictions, the mobile addiction could cause traffic accident. Because you don't put TV in your car or in your motorcycle, but you will use your mobile while you're driving, so it could cause a threat to your directly to your life. So I think we should pay much attention about it. And the next part is the age of the mobile addictions. So according to the research, there are 58% of the smartphone users don't go to 1 hour without checking their phones. And this means that most of the smartphone users, they could not bear with 1 hour without checking their phones. So, and you can see on the right part, there are the percentage of the age. So you can see that in the age to 18 to 34 and the age to 35 to 44, there are about 60% of the users were checking their their smartphone frequently. But you can see that also in age 45 to 45 to 54 and even more, age above 55, there are still a large percentage of the users, and they also check their smartphone frequently. So, according to this research, we can know that the mobile addictions not only happened in teenagers, but also happen in all ages. And the next part is some symptoms of the mobile addictions. And the first one is that using smartphone right after you wake up. But I think nowadays many people, including me, will using the alarm clock on the smartphone, right? But in this case, we are talking about that after you open your eyes and you immediately check your phone with Facebook or Instagram or Line to check if there is a new post or message. So if you have this kind of behavior, watch out, you might have a mobile addiction. And the second one is feeling anxiety without smartphone besides. But I think this one is reasonable because when people go out to work or go to school, if they don't take their smartphone beside, then it might cause lots of trouble, right? So I think this one is reasonable. And the third one is checking smartphone over 14 times in a day. So I don't know whether you have counted the times you check your smartphones in a day or not, but I think for college students, it's probably very probably like to check their smartphone over 14 times in a day. So if you have chance, you can count it. And the last one is feeling uncomfortable in eye or back after used. So in this case, it means that you spend too much time on using your phone. So be careful about the time you use your smartphone. And if you have more than 3 or even 4 symptoms of the mobile addictions, so you really need to take care about yourself. And the next part is, as you can see, there are the top 10 symptoms of mobile addiction. So you can see that the top 3, they are all connected with social community addiction. So and we will talk about it later. And the second category is physical and health damage, like hurting your fingers, or a car accident, or feeling hurt on the back, or something like that. So, and the third part is the psychological and knowledge damage. So, once you type on your phone too much, that you will start to forget how to write some words, right? So, we need to care about it. And about the social community addictions, we could separate it into 2 reasons. One reason is that the dopamine in our brain. So the dopamine is a kind of chemical elements that could cause people feel satisfied and happy. So when we checking our Facebook or post some photos, and many people will put the like button, right? Then we will feel satisfied and happy. It's because of these chemical elements in our brain. And the second reason is that because Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and this kind of social community website software, because they are company. So the biggest goal of them is to earn money and earn our attention. So they will keeping update their software, their website to catch our attention. So it might cause the social community addiction. And here are some consequences of the social community addiction. So first is the lack of independent thinking. So we have learned about this from an article we have read a few months ago, right? So I think if you read too much article or too much posts on Facebook or Instagram, then you will start to stop thinking. And the next one is the distortion of values. So people nowadays, mostly the rich people or movie star, they are likely to post their life of how rich they are. So if teenagers read this kind of post too much, then they will start to think this kind of life is the only way they want. So it will cause distortion of values. And the third one is IQ drops. According to research, if you use too much social community websites or software, then because you are only absorbing the information but without thinking and analysis, and finally it will cause IQ drops. And the last one is the loss of real world connection. So I think people nowadays really need to pay attention on this, because we don't live in only virtual social community website or software, but we also need to pay lots of attention in real world connection.
And I'm going to talk about prevention and solution. If you have no any addiction, that's great, but you also have to